Hey, what's up, Braden Peterson? How's your day been? Pretty busy, but no complaints. How about you? I've had a busy couple days. Looking forward to. I'm gonna stay on until about 6:30. It's about an hour and a half, and looking forward to relaxing and watching Tiger Woods in his TGL debut. Gonna roll a few. Don't know what happened. Can't make a thing. What's going on, Perry Smith? Is your X-Putt malfunctioning over there? Did you see, Perry? I was thinking about you. I have a couple update videos coming. Um, I think you were in there last night, I believe, when I had the issues with putting. Literally, like within hours of that, they pulled that GS Pro connector, and it was even like before midnight. They put up a new update for a new connector, and now I was thinking of you. The new update allows you to select the swing stick, both for driver or irons, or putting, or both, which is pretty cool. I mean, personally, I won't use it, but there's a lot of people out there that are looking for that. It would be nice, now that I just said that, it would be nice if they differentiated between driver, irons, and putter. So basically, right now, it's either, I guess you got to hit everything, or you'd have to switch it between every single shot, but that's within GS Pro. Yeah, Bill. So the new connector. Um, hold on. The new connector. I was testing that out. You saw that yesterday throughout the two different streams with the putting. Literally last night, they were aware of it before I even got done, I think, with that live stream. And I did a quick video after that. I think they were aware of it. I would say probably by like 7, 8 p.m. last night, maybe even earlier, they pulled that 0.9.8. They pulled that connector from the website. And then I would say probably by like midnight, they had 0.9.9 connector up there, which I haven't tried it yet. I downloaded it and installed it, but apparently other people tried it. That solves the putting issue, and now there's two little check marks at the bottom. It says basically it says use swing stick for driver and irons, and then it says use swing stick for putter. So you can either select one or both or none of them. Wonder how that would work with SGT. Swing stick makes it too easy. I know, that's what I was thinking. I'm gonna kind of do a video of going over that and kind of asking people that if it should be allowed or not, kind of get their opinion. Personally, I don't care, and personally, I don't think it's gonna be that big of an issue. Maybe the reason why they did putter and or driver and irons is because people aren't gonna want to do that. So it's either like you use it or you don't. It will be nice though for like the average user to be able to specify. So like say. I have a lot of thoughts on this. One, like I was saying earlier, updates keep coming out before I can even post the video, so I'm like a day behind on everything. And by the time I like post the video, it's already like out of date between my my ball dots, and then the TP5 thing comes out, and then I do the update, and then the connector gets changed. I have the video tomorrow about the putting issue, and then they already solved it. So. But it would be nice. I don't think it's that big of a deal for an SGT. If it's that important of a match and it's that competitive, you would just record yourself and you would get disqualified anyways. To Two, it would be nice if they could specify the player. Maybe GS Pro will add that. So like if I had like younger friends or family, whatever, if I want to hit golf balls and they only want to use the swing stick to specify for each person, or for people like so I hope and calibrate my driver distance. Some like Perry, who like at night or whatever, because of neighbors or whatever the case may be, maybe you have kids, maybe like your kid's room, like C-Drum was saying, maybe your kid's room is like right over your simulator or whatever. Maybe you can use driver, the swing stick for driver, and then hit everything else. So overall, I think it is a good addition. To me, I don't do SGT anyways, but I guess there could be some issues. I don't know. Maybe they passed it with GS Pro. Maybe if that thing is selected in the connector, there's an error that comes up with GS Pro and you can't even start the round. I don't know, but from what I saw, it says driver / irons or putter or both. Like I said, I'd assume if they keep it, then they'll keep adding to it. They'll probably separate the driver and the iron, and then putting if you want to. I'm sure there's people that will just keep it on the putting. There's probably people that tried that thing yesterday and liked it because, like, someone like Black Cloud hates putting on the simulator. There's some people that would probably rather use the swing stick to putt, and that was probably almost a good thing that happened. But someone commented, and they were like, I think the biggest issue plaguing Square is too many options. Like, don't know like if the dotted balls work or they don't, or if like the TP5s or like the swing stick and all this different stuff. And I said I get what he's saying, but I disagreed because I think personally the more options the better. And Square is actually doing it right by all these things they're doing, and they're appealing and catering to their wide audience, which other launch monitors don't do that kind of stuff. I think they're doing the right thing by continuously adding options, capability, different balls, all that kind of stuff. What's up, Keegan? That'd be nice for new players versus golfers. Yeah, exactly. Need to put it yet on. I don't do SGT. I don't know. I'm not like 100. I'm not like I'll never do it. It's just like I don't find the. Hey, what's up, edit guy? Hunts edits. I just don't. I haven't found enough reason and kind of appeal for me to spend the extra $80 a year or whatever it is. Or like, isn't it what 80 to play and then 120 to like do some different stuff. Especially now with I've been doing those live streams with people, which is really fun. Personally, I'd rather do that than SGT. Just keep doing like my regular video type of stuff. Most of the time, it'll just be me by myself, and then if I can get people that want to play online, do that. But yeah, 120 to do the leagues. Also, Joe mentioned in GS Pro, he's going to do almost golf ball algorithm. Joe also mentioned GS Pro. Oh, GS Pro themselves are going to do it. That's cool. So I would assume it's going to be similar to kind of the Square. I would assume it'll just be they'll probably just have like almost ball as an option, but I'm assuming it'll just be a boost. So say they whatever almost golf ball is like 40% flight or whatever it is, they'll probably it'll be an option where GS Pro just boosts every single shot by like 40%. That's cool. I didn't hear about that. Crazy time for the launch monitor scene between TGL, all these new units coming out, all these updates. I just hope. I was thinking another comment I responded to. Someone saying that he's only used it so far, kind of like what Bill did, only used it in his living room so far. And I just said, you're going to love it once you get up and running like 100%. And the best part is that the Square is still new, and it's just gonna keep getting better and better. It's already awesome, in my opinion, but it's just gonna keep getting better and better. My only worry is that they try to pump out like a Square Golf 2 too quick. Like I want to see them really fine tune this thing for like at least a year, if not 2, and then think about releasing something else. I just worry if they do something else, then their time's split in half, and they can't focus as much time and energy into all the updates and all the fixes they've been doing with one unit. But I get them being able to, they need to make money and constantly be improving stuff. So if the trade-off, if I had to pick, if the trade-off was between them allowing us to use TP5s and then them coming out with a new unit sooner than later, I would take that deal. Honestly, I didn't know how I would feel about these TGL every week, but there's nothing else on Tuesday night, so I am kind of looking forward to it. I've said it in the videos, I said it during the live stream, but I kind of made the case in point, kind of unintentionally. But I've been recommending. I didn't do it initially. I wish I saved the old ones. But you Square users, I would highly recommend. The file sizes aren't that big. Just create a separate folder, like in your documents, or your downloads, or your desktop, and just keep all the old GS Pro connectors. So for something like this, if I like yesterday when I had the issue with putting, granted it still worked decent enough for me to be able to play with the lob wedge, selecting that every time. But if I had something like if Bill like was pressed to do an SGT round, or I had something important I wanted to do, you can easily just install the past one that works. So highly recommend keeping like a couple older GS Pro Square connectors in case you ever wanted to hop back to another one that you knew worked for a certain thing. Its progressive lob wedge is almost equal, and you go up the bag, the drop off gets steep. That makes sense. I pay an extra 40 to your Triple Bogeys League, might join Joe's League as well. Might as well if there's no extra cost. Triple Bogeys League, did that cost $40 just for his league? Or it was the $40, you're saying it was the 40 for the 80 versus 120, and then you can join as many as you want? Another kind of, yeah, 40 for all the leagues. I mean, that's not a bad deal. If you enjoy doing those, certainly. I know there's all different leagues and different flights and stuff, but just thinking like if I was in like the open, if I did like a league that was just open to anyone, I would just I'd be playing against people like Drum, and I would just be getting wiped every single week. That was so fun. One, I know I was talking about it yesterday too, but that was so fun. Mashi is a better player than I am too, but the fact I just get impressed with like the ball speed numbers and the fact that Drum was a former D1 player. It's fun playing with people like that. You think like your game's in a decent spot, or maybe you're hitting it all right, and then you play someone like that, and you realize how many different levels there truly are within the game of golf, and how much more improvement and work I need to do to even get close to his type of level. He does live play on Thursday night. Yeah, I've been tuning in. I was in there last night. I fell asleep watching it. I've been tuning into some of those. He was getting kind of some wonky reads from what I was seeing last night. I put it in the chat before. I thought he was gonna do. He's gonna return that R50, so I thought he was gonna use the Square for GS Pro. So I put in beforehand, just saying, "Hey, heads up, the putting's messed up, and you have to use the swing stick." And he read it when he first started. If you go to the very beginning of that stream, he was like, "No way! Like, are you joking? Like that can't be real." But he ended up using the Garmin R50 for his like GS Pro play anyways, and he just had the square numbers up next to it. I think some of it though was probably interference. Some of them that was like a pretty sizable spin axis one way or the other. and either the Square or the Garmin had like the complete opposite. I would think those are, especially because he was using the TP5s. I think those were probably interference issues. Um, Overall, things seem pretty good though. The ball speed, like, could just be his unit. Who knows? You'd have to get two squares right next to each other. Um, but at least from him, compared to his R50, the Square is consistently 2 to 3 miles an hour slower. Did you have an OptiShot? No. I've never owned an OptiShot. I've used one twice. One time was like a long, long time ago, like before I even started playing golf. Someone I went to high school with had one, and I took like two driver swings. That was it. Um, and then a golf course that I used to play at got one of those in their like dining room area one off season, and I went in there once and tried playing it, which is just uh, it sucks. I mean, you just if you ever used an OptiShot, I think they have a new unit now that actually measures the ball. But an OptiShot, you can literally go like this with your club with one hand over the sensor, and it'll go like 200 yards. All it's doing is just I mean, you can still hit balls, you can still kind of practice with it, I guess, but it would just literally, it's probably even worse than just hitting straight into a net without seeing anything, because it's literally not doing anything. All it's looking for is the metal or like a motion over the sensor, and that's it. Still sending the R50 back, like if you're doing a bit more square going forward. Yeah, that's what I figured too. He was saying that he was planning on sending it back yesterday, but the score update came out, so he wanted to use it for another day or two. And I think he said the very, very last day it has to be in the mail is tomorrow. So then he'll be down to the MLM and he'll be down to the Square, which those two he'll just going forward. I would assume 95% of the time he'll just have both of those units running at the same exact time like he was doing last night, and then he'll probably just bounce back and forth between. He really likes the webcam putting, so he'll probably go back and forth between using the MLM2 Pro and then the Square for all of his rounds that he does. Those are cool though. His setup, like he's like really laid back. He's really good at golf too, but he's like really laid back. His setup's awesome. Those are fun to watch. Did he? Did you watch the whole thing, Bill? Did he? I fell asleep. Um, like towards the beginning of when it was like right when he was going over to start playing courses. He was working on his driver and hitting shots for a while, and then he thought he kind of figured it out, and then he went over to start playing courses, and I fell asleep. Did he? Did the driver stay decent for him? Again, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. Him sending back the R50 for $5,000. I think Garmin messed up. Like people are still saying, I originally thought it was going to be a R10 2.0 in the 700 to 999 range to compete with Square. I just don't think they're going to sell as many units as they thought they would. The lack of enthusiasm to fix putting put him off. Yeah, I mean, I get what he was saying with that. When I first got the R10, I went back and forth with them for weeks, sending them stuff, going to the range, sending them screenshots, and I kept telling them the unit on longer clubs was like 2 clubs short. And they kept telling me basically it was my fault. It was like what I was doing was wrong. It was my swing that was off. And then it took them like 6 months to come out with the weather settings, which I was continuously asking for all my videos for a while, just to be able to let us change it. But I get why he probably had a similar experience to where he was raising concerns and issues with the unit, and they were basically, from what I got out of them, from different people too, phone calls, emails, everything. Um, it was a lot of like kind of dismissive type of talk saying like it's not us, it's not the unit, it's something that you're doing. It's either your swing or your setup, which was it got frustrating. I mean, obviously I still kept it, and at the time the R10 was kind of the only thing in town under 1,000, but failed about halfway through the second round. Driver was better than it had been. But yeah, kind of that doesn't surprise me from what he was saying. The last R10 update 2 years ago? Was it really? There's been nothing in between? Is that true? That's what I'm worried about, what I was saying before with the Square. If they come out with something new, hopefully it's to the point where they literally have perfected the Square and they can't make it any better, then that's a different case. But if they start working on something else, I worry that it would start being something like that. I don't think it would be 2 years, but something where the updates start coming much, much less frequently. I think though they have a massive hit and a massive winner on their hands. If I was them, I would go probably instead of like 700, I'd go like 900 or 1,000, and I would make a unit to where you can use it indoors and outdoors with all like the same components, just to like make it to where the sunlight doesn't mess with it and you can use it outside, um, and just keep improving and keep kind of growing the Square community. The cool thing is with these simulators or the launch monitors rather, at a certain point there's only so much it can accurately measure. If you get it to the point where it's within like a very very close margin of error to even like a GC quad, like there's a certain point where they can't like keep like continuously, like you can only fine tune something so much at a certain point, which I think we're getting pretty close to. Just in like the overall grand scheme of markets or like the simulator market. Like I can't imagine something like a GC3 or like a Unicore, something that's like really really like a couple steps above. Like I can't imagine they're putting out frequent updates because it's already so good to begin with. Like you can't keep like I don't know what you could change. You know what I mean? Like if it's matching up to like top level quality units at a certain point, you can't keep just putting out stuff for nothing. Um, but I think we're getting close to that compared to where we were with the R10 like 2-3 years ago to where it is now with the Square. Um, I think it'll kind of like the improvement and the surge of them will kind of flatline and kind of taper off just a little bit, but that means that competition will keep coming and units will just be really really good for cheaper and cheaper. Outdoor used to be a good upgrade. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. They like this new update, they literally changed the operating system of the unit. So it was operating system, firmware, software, and the GS Pro connector. I guess in theory, maybe they could tweak something to where you can use this unit outdoors. Obviously, you can't get it wet. You can't bring it to the range like you could the R10 that's water resistant and like get caught in a rainstorm. I wouldn't think. Um, but maybe if they made like a plastic case that goes over it, and then they optimize the cameras to be able to deal with the sunlight, possibly, or just another unit. But I've been seeing more and more people with the Square because so many people have been getting them. I've been seeing more and more. When I got it, it was like strongly, strongly advised against using it outside. Almost no one did, and no one tried to. I've been seeing more and more, probably like a handful now, of people that are saying that they only got the Square to use it outside, and they've been using it outside with no issues. You gotta make sure you manage your shade situation. I'll probably try it. I'll probably bring it outside in the springtime when it gets warmer. Um, and just even the shank tank. Someone recently commented and said this thing looks like it's blocking out pretty much everything. You could probably bring this outside. So I'll probably try it once the springtime comes around. That's initially before I built out the garage setup. I talked about this, but I contacted Square and went back and forth with them a little bit about asking them if I really worked on improving my shade in the backyard setup, if I could use it. And that's when they told me, they basically said we advise against it, but there's nothing stopping you, or we can't do anything to stop you from getting one. And I asked them directly if the sunlight, the rumor, it's kind of still floating around there that the sunlight actually damages the unit. At least the person that I talked to said no, it doesn't damage the unit, but it'll just render it pretty much useless to the point where it's only registering like 1 out of every 15 shots type of thing. But when I play at the bar, it's GC Hawk. The ball moves way more left to right. You have a bar that has a GC Hawk? By afternoon, I have sunshine directly at the unit with my outdoor setup. Yeah, so I was thinking about that. If I were to bring it out, one, I would either have to use it when the sun is directly overhead, so like basically shining as close to vertical, like 12 o'clock to like 6 o'clock, when the sun's directly overhead, because the top part would be shaded and that would be fine. My issue, I think, would come when I don't even remember which way the sun kind of goes up and sets over there, but either way, either when the sun's rising or the sun's setting. I think it's the sun's setting over there, where it would be shooting kind of from left to right into the face of the unit. That's where I would have to figure something out. But I think between umbrellas, I was even debating when I was doing it, stringing up like a couple really big tarps together between some of the trees to block the sun. Something like that would work. Um, there's definitely you could figure it out if you're really determined to do it. Problem is Tarsi becomes sales. Yeah, I know, I get it. I'd probably poke holes in it, and it would have to be something like on a pulley system where I would drop it down when I'm not out there, and then kind of like a flagpole when I'm out there using the unit. I would kind of pull it up and only have it up for when I was out there. But honestly, I don't know. That seems like kind of a lot of work. I'll probably just bring it outside one time just to test it. And then the whole reason why I bought it, I just used that inside and used the Garmin outside because pretty much you can't really use the Square outside, and at least for my setup, I can't use the Garmin inside, so it's kind of a perfect blend. Pretty much, the Square was 700, the Garmin was 600, so for 1,300 bucks, 2 launch monitors that still work well and suit my needs when you put it that way. Replay the strike is so cool. Yeah, that is cool. I feel like at a certain point it's helpful. Obviously, that would be something just nice to have if the unit came with it. I don't know though if I would pay extra money for that. I feel like at a certain point, like especially my irons, the 770s and even the 790s too. Pretty much if you have a forged iron and anything kind of like player's distance, definitely like CBs or MBs, but you can feel with the forged, you can feel where you hit it anyways. So that would just be confirmation. But I mean, for the most part, like I can tell if I hit it out of the middle, close to the middle, towards the toe, way off the toe, heely, low, high, that kind of thing. I've seen people. You can buy some cameras just like on Amazon, some like really high frame rate cameras, um, and you can kind of make the same thing. You can like zoom in on where you hit from, and you can pretty much do that yourself if you really wanted that, and just make your own like replay camera of impact. Honestly, the biggest thing I would probably want it for would just be to put that up on screen for like my videos and streams. It would just be like a cool little add-on thing to put somewhere like small in the corner. But as far as like paying extra for that, I don't know. It gets a bit warmer. I made sure the R10 in the shop. I'm gonna put the door up just a bit so the R10 you can see and I can still swing. Have to cover the concrete, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I tried, like I said, I tried mine when I was setting it up. I tried the R10 inside one time and it registered, same thing as the Square outside. It registered like 2 out of 17 shots or something like that. And the GS Pro connector that I use, it just kept saying severe radar saturation. So the garage door was probably messing with it. There's a fridge out there was probably messing with it. All the different kinds of metal, the concrete was messing with it. It's just not. I know people that were indoors when the R10 first came out for the first couple of years. There was no other option, so they kind of had to deal with that and kind of solve that. But for me, at least for the R10 inside, because the score's so good too, and I have it, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to be able to get that thing to work. Would be nice to compare the two units. Yeah, so what would you compare? The R10 only measures 4 things. It measures launch angle, launch direction, so like vertical and horizontal launch, and then it just measures ball speed and club speed. So you could measure those 3 against each other, and then once Square eventually adds club head speed, you can measure those. But besides that, everything else is estimated based on those 4 metrics. And I don't know off the top of my head the metrics that the Square directly measures. Ball speed, launch angle, launch direction. If you have the stickers, it's club path and angle of attack. The face to path is estimated, and the dynamic loft is estimated. So that's 5. Am I missing anything else? Oh, back. Okay, so launch angle, launch direction, ball speed, backspin, side spin. Yeah, so a few more, like 7. Heads up antennas. Meta doesn't impact radar. Moving things do. Seems like I lose yardage. I've heard metal messes with it though, because people, I don't know, maybe it's like the components in the metal things, because like people have to do Faraday cages around like AC units. Maybe that's just putting off the signal. I don't know, but it seems like Faraday cages around like AC units, heaters, projectors, that kind of stuff throws it off. I don't know exactly what it is, but it seems like I lose yardage to the Square. Maybe I'm still getting used to swinging inside. If ball speed matches, then I can look at Garmin club speed. I have an overhead fan and my R10 is okay with it. I can't run the aircon. Huh. So maybe I guess it's probably something else then. So maybe antennas is right. I thought it was I know concrete, people had to cover the concrete, and I thought it was metal as well, but maybe it's like the electric components of it. Yeah, people say that, but it's not true. AX units have fans. Oh, okay. Good to know. Antennas over here. I've seen you in Triple Bogey streams. We were talking about him. We were talking about Ben earlier. And I believe, if my memory serves me, you were the one, I shouted you out, I think, in the stream. You were the one that put the instructions for me to get the Bryson hole-in-one challenge back. I got it from, you told in Ben's stream, you put it in the chat one time, and I happened to see it on a replay, and I got that to work. They all have fans. It hits the blades and gives you a reading. Hey. I was always under the impression, I know there was always rumors that you could do it. I never saw anyone talk about it and never did it myself, but it does make sense now. Yeah, I hope to work. Yeah, it does. Oddly enough, sometimes when I load it up, it crashes, and then other times when I load it up, like the first shot doesn't register. I don't know if that's like GS Pro actively trying to like block it and take it down. But usually I'm like, after a couple tries, I get it to work, and I've showed a couple friends and family who think it's awesome. Like I've been saying though, out of respect for Run Pud Run, who was in that stream, he was the one that designed it. I'm not going to do any kind of live streams or videos with it, just so I don't want to ruffle any feathers and cause any issues. But it is awesome just for like when I'm not doing any kind of videos to I show multiple people that they think it's awesome. Shame that thing got taken down. Still doesn't make, I still don't get, like, I don't know if we'll ever get a good reason. The only reason that makes sense to me is if like he licensed that thing to another company and they're like in the process of doing something. But like that would have just made the challenge. I know he made it like the day after, but that would still be going right now, and it would have exploded the trend even more so. And now with him giving that guy $100,000 to put in a hole-in-one over his house, like he's still trying to go with it. I don't know. I think that was just a bad move. Neighborhood course is really good. I saw that the other day. I want to try that. I tried the start yapping, bro. I mean, that's kind of the point of this, isn't it, Johnny? What do you want me to just sit here in silence and just hit putts? Got me sidetracked. Got neighborhood golf now. I saw the eagles and birdies of that, and I want to try that. And I also tried a couple times the Carl's Place hole-in-one challenge over the warehouse, their headquarters or whatever. Cool though that now we have, because of the result of Bryson getting his house taken down, we would have never had those if Bryson's house was still up. I mean, maybe, but probably less likely. So, I mean, the silver lining is now we have two other cool GS Pro courses to use that we likely probably wouldn't have had if Bryson's house would have just been up. There would have been no desire to really do anything else, I wouldn't think. How long is the wait to get Square now? I don't know. I mean, I bought it. I ordered mine like the middle of October. When I got mine, I mean, so many things have changed just in that. Like when I got mine, the only place you could get it from was Square Golf UK. So I ordered mine. It was back ordered for like 2 weeks, and then I got it like the first week of November, and then they stopped selling them on the UK. Then SimSpace popped up, and then SquareGolf.com popped up. I think I saw Play Better just got some. So I think as far as the US goes, the only two places you can order are squaregolf.com and soon to be Play Better, I think. You can still get them on SimSpace, but they limited it to bundles. So you have to either buy like a net or a mat or something with it. You can still get it there. But I would assume now that there's more sites that have them, and some different companies, it would probably just depend on their stock, I would assume. But as far as I can tell, they're still selling like hotcakes, so I don't know. You haven't played it yet? My golf is limited when I had my daughter's dog during this cold spell. Yeah, for sure. What do you have in tennis? What do you have for a unit? Launch monitor unit, that is. Oh, M2 Pro? Nice. Did you, assuming, I mean, Ben speaks really highly of it. I've never used one. I'm assuming you like yours as much as he likes his. Did you do the lifetime subscription upgrade? I've talked about this before, so apologies for people that have heard this, but back in April, this coming April, like in a couple months, it'll be a year. But back in April of 2024, I was very much so 50-50 between upgrading the R10 with a MLM2 Pro or getting a laptop and getting GS Pro and using the R10 for longer and then get another unit down the road. For a long time, for a while too, I was leaning MLM2 Pro, but hindsight, I'm kind of glad I got GS Pro when I did, use the Garmin more, and now I'm really happy with the Square. But Canadian distribution? Yeah, we got to get Uneven Par, who's a member. He's from Ontario. There's another maple syrup person here. Getting used to going in the crate for an hour or so. Let me do a bid in the sim. What kind of dog is it? My dog's pretty cool. He's getting older now, but he just chills. Like, I feel bad for like when I'm doing this or I'm playing in the sim. He's kind of by himself, but he kind of just hangs out. He's a good dog. No issues whatsoever. I haven't. The unit is really good with great features, but electronics 2-3 years is a lifetime. That's true. Border Collie mix. What are you eyeing? That sounds like you're eyeing something for a possible upgrade. Even if it's still good, I feel like that 2 to 3 year time frame is right when you start getting kind of like itchy and you start looking around just for a fun new toy to mess around with. Even if your unit works perfect, I just feel like sometimes it's just fun to get something new, even if you don't necessarily need it. But that comment makes me think that you're possibly shopping around a little bit. People have said, I haven't heard Joe Legowski say it, but people have told me that Joe has said to if you're in the market for a sim, either an upgrade for your first one, to wait until after the PGA show, which I think is next week, because I guess there's a bunch of stuff. But I'm from the Bay Area. I'm a transplant. We never know. There's some crazy talk. It could be U.S. territory eventually up there. Oh, would you see a new launch mark comes out in a few years? I can golf with it a while yet, not shopping yet. Regarding to launch monitors or like setups, what about him, Jonathan? Jonathan. What do you guys think about the antennas is knowledgeable? Perry Smith, I know, likes it. Bogeyman Bill seems like he's 50-50. What do you think about ain't happening? Yeah, I don't really know. I just heard that kind of floated around. I was asking Uneven Par, who's from Canada. I was asking him kind of what the consensus is up there, and he said it's kind of 50-50, but no one's taking it serious. I was gonna ask though, what do you guys think with the new GS Pro connector for the Square that just came out last night? I was talking about it earlier, but there's an option now you can use the swing stick for both putting. That was kind of the bug last night. It wasn't supposed to be like that, but now in the new connector that just came out, there's an option to where you can use the swing stick for driver and irons, or putter, or both. What do you think about Square allowing people to use the swing stick within GS Pro? The PGA show? What about Jonathan? You have a question? Just tried it. Scary close to my real numbers. Oh, the Square? Oh, the swing stick? I found that too. If you guys look at my video, that was literally the last time I used it besides yesterday. I literally put it back in the box. I thought I originally said I would have rather had like the Garmin R10 comes with a really nice like carry case. I would have rather had like a really nice case from Square instead of that swing stick, but it is kind of cool. Besides that one video I did at this point like 2 months ago, it was literally in the box until yesterday, until the glitch. But it was oddly driver. If you took like what you felt like a normal driver swing, it was oddly accurate with ball speed and whatnot. The problem is with driver, if you just swing really hard, I got up to like 170 ball speed, but it was for the rest of the bag between wedges and all the irons. It was very, I agree, it was oddly very accurate. If you just take somewhat normal swings with what you would put your club to, which is kind of strange, but nice setup. Appreciate it, Dave. David Ramos. Freak Joe out too. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy how he knows his numbers a lot better, but I was just kind of doing like what I felt like to be like a normal swing for each club, and it was oddly very close. I mean, obviously it's just you're selecting the club, so then it's going to do a baseline of what like the average like spin should be, and then all it's going to do is just take the club, how fast you're swinging that stick, and they're going to put it into their algorithm and then equate a distance. So, I mean, it makes sense if you're trying to swing that thing similar to the same speed as you would with like a regular 7-iron, that you would have within the ballpark of a pretty close number. That's the same. But obviously that doesn't like you can manipulate the club face left and right and whatnot, but it doesn't account for like mishits, thin, fat, that kind of stuff. It's pretty fun though to like friends and kids play. Yeah, so that's what I was saying before. I think it's a cool option. Um I think now that I think about it, it could have been one of those things where Square was working on that behind the scenes and they accidentally put that into the last connector and they weren't planning on releasing that yet. But it is kind of cool. I think they're just gonna eventually separate the driver. Right now with the connector, it's driver and irons together or putting or both. I think eventually they'll do driver only, like the rest of the bag only, and then putting only. And I think eventually they'll probably work out something with GS Pro if it's going to stay to where you can even select certain players. So like someone like Perry could do driver only and then hit everything else. If you have like friends or family, like little kids over, you have them hit all the shots on the swing stick, and then like all playing in the same round, like the third player only hitting actual balls, I would think. I think it's good as you said. It'd be nice if you can play a mix between people for a round. Should not be able to use for SGT. I doubt they will allow it. Likely something to disable it. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not saying people should use it for SGT, and GS Pro is good enough. They'll find out a way to where if you're not actually hitting the ball, then it just like won't let you play the SGT round. I agree with all that. But that alone, which for someone like me, I don't have SGT. So for me, that shouldn't be a reason why other people can't use it and enjoy it if they want to. You know what I mean? Your title reminded me to watch TGL tonight. Definitely would have forgotten. Dude, I know. I saw a commercial. I had ESPN on and I had a commercial pop up and I said, "Oh man, I forgot." And it's actually tonight. The other night was at 9 o'clock, I believe, last Tuesday. Tonight it's at 7 o'clock. And then I think they switch back and forth. I think next week again is 9 o'clock, but tonight is 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'm glad you kind of got a reminder. I just want to say, hey, I got to run. Take care. Catch you on the next live. All right, sounds good in tennis. Maybe I'll see you on a live stream in the garage hitting actual balls. Only have 9-foot ceiling. Can only hit irons. So now I can play. Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's a good thing to add. To me, it makes sense. You would think that would be easy enough. To me, it makes sense for them to separate it by the clubs. So like not just group driver and irons together. They should separate them. Even like I don't know how detailed they can get, but even like someone like Perry, maybe 3-wood, maybe cutting it close. So maybe for someone like you would want driver and 3-wood, and then like hybrids through wedges are real, and then putter you can make a decision. I think all it would take is I've been seeing some of those like SGT long drive events or whatever. I haven't like seen one, but I've seen like people talk about them. I think all it's gonna take is like one person to hit like a 500-yard bomb with the swing stick, and then GS Pro will probably do something to limit it. What do you think about Triple Bogey's number last night, having the Garmin and Square next to each other? They look very close to me. So we were talking about that. I watched the beginning and I fell asleep watching it right towards the beginning of when I watched him hit balls on the range and work on his driver, and then I fell asleep right when he was starting his first round. But Yeah, overall, I think they look good. Ball speed, same thing as all the other tests he's done. Ball speed was still consistently 2 to 3 miles an hour slower, and sometimes upwards of 5 with driver. I think on the ones that I think picked up, the spin axis was at least in the right direction. It seemed like there were some that I would say on average the Garmin had a little bit more side spin and larger spin axis, but then there was other ones that I think were probably caused from interference, ones that like Garmin had as like a pretty big draw and like Square had as like a fade. I think those are probably interference. Um, and I think he was the raw numbers look close. I think he put into the Garmin. He was asking. I'm pretty sure those like all the weather setting stuff in the Square app that doesn't make a difference at all. I think it's just the 0% ball, 5% ball, and 10% ball. So I think when he was doing that, I'm pretty sure he put in his elevation into Garmin for those numbers. So those, especially when he got up to driver, those numbers were pretty far apart as far as like raw and total. Um, and I commented one time, if you looked at up until pretty much he got to driver, if you looked at all of his other clubs, his total distance was almost exactly 5% short every single time from the Square to the Garmin. So the carry numbers were pretty close, but that's why I use the 5%. If you go back and you look and you do the math of the variance between the total distance of the Square and the total distance from the Garmin, it was the ones that I saw were almost exactly 5% short. That is with the Square, so Garmin was 5% longer. That can explain the big difference on driver's nice observation. Yeah, I was trying to tell him. He was asking if that did anything. I was trying to tell him. I get for him, he's got more people in there, and he's trying to do stuff at the same time. So it's tough to like here. I'm just kind of like hanging out and putting. I read every chat. For him, it's kind of tough to read and acknowledge every single thing. I was trying to tell him that I didn't think the elevation mattered, but yeah, that's why same thing, same reason why I use elevation in GS Pro. I set it to basically 5%. And the same thing with like the Garmin. All my clubs with the Garmin were good up until about like 9 iron, and then as the clubs got longer, I had to they got shorter and shorter. So kind of like what you saw with driver, as he went up his bag, the numbers got further apart because the elevation, like if you think about 5% on or whatever his elevation was, but call it 5%. If you think of the 5% on like a 20-yard wedge shot, that's only a yard, so that you're not going to see any difference. But 5% on a 300-yard shot like he was hitting, that's what 15 yards. That's a good amount. I think he's up there in altitude though. I think like I'm like pretty close to sea level. I think he's like I forget what he said, but he's kind of up there in some of the altitude. So that'll definitely the general rule of thumb, both like real life golf, GS Pro, and most of the other softwares. So like if you were to travel and you actually did like an actual golf trip somewhere else, it's the same in real life. The general rule of thumb is 1% or 2% rather, 2% for every 1,000 feet, either up or down in elevation. So GS Pro, I use 2,500 feet, which is 2, and then the 1%. So 2,500 feet, which equates to 5%. Same thing on Square too. I use the 5% ball. All right, half an hour and I'm out of here. I gotta shower and make some food before Tiger starts teeing off. Speaking of TGL, was anyone else under the impression that it was SoFi Stadium, not SoFi Center? I thought this entire time it was the SoFi Center, like the state or the SoFi Stadium rather, like where I'm pretty sure that's in like California where like the Rams play and whatnot. I thought this whole thing was at the SoFi Stadium, not SoFi Center, which is apparently in Florida. The cool thing though, Jonathan, about the Square consistently being 2 to 3 miles an hour slower on ball speed, that's an easy fix because it's the same every single time. So all they need to do is just boost up their kind of algorithm and their firmware to just bump up the ball speed on average, like call it 2.5 miles an hour, and then you're right in line, at least compared to the R50 and his 2 units. You're right in line with those. If it was like 1 mile an hour, uh, 1 mile an hour slow, 5 miles an hour too fast. If it was like all over the place, that would be tougher for them to correct. But it seemed like all the streams that I've watched when he's been comparing them, it's always that 2 to 3 mile an hour mark. So that should be an easy fix for Square because it's constant. And he's talked about it. Joe's talked about it. The carry and the total. That's kind of tougher because that's just based on an algorithm. You want the carries to be close and whatnot, and I think all the units they all use kind of similar algorithms, but they're all a little bit different. But all those carry and the total numbers are just coming from the raw metrics that the launch monitor is picking up on between launch angle, launch direction, ball speed, spin, all that type of stuff. If you did a test bill between the R10 and the Square, you should put just a either like hit into a net and put some dots, like Sharpie dots, on a RCT ball, or put a little bit of metallic tape on like a TP5, so you could measure the you can compare the backspin as well between the Garmin and the Square. Having consistency is really important and promising. Yeah, I think the unit's just gonna keep getting better and better. I think it's already really good. Like I'm very happy with it. I've been really happy with it since I got it. But they've honestly been surprising me more and more. I feel like the last firmware and the update that I got, I was a little bit late getting it because I had a trip to Florida, so I was a little bit behind. I was a little bit disappointed on that one because people kept telling me like, "Oh, what's the big deal? Just select the club you're hitting on the driving range." To me, that was a big thing that I wasn't super happy with. So I kind of titled my video like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That one I wasn't super pleased with. Kind of tough for me to tell when they say that they improve their like their spin readings and whatnot. Like for me, I'm not consistent enough to know like, all right, this update on average it's like 200 RPMs higher or lower. I'm not good enough to tell that. I just kind of take their word for it that it's better. But even them, whether they listen to me or other people were complaining about it, they went back to just being able to load up the range, leave it on driver, and hit whatever you want. Like the fact that they got that corrected and they went back to that is pretty cool. And then obviously adding the capabilities of the TP5s, it's just going to keep getting more and more dialed in and more accurate. And I would assume, not that there's that many other balls out there, but they're just going to keep adding more and more balls too that you can use. Yeah, having to select the club does not make one confident in the device. Exactly. That's what I was telling people too, and people didn't seem to understand that. They're like, well, what's the big deal? But I've had people come over multiple times between the Garmin outside and the Square inside, and I've had multiple different people. One of the first questions they ask is, do you have to tell it what club you're hitting? And I always said no, because it's actually picking up what your ball and like your actual club is doing. Like when you have to select the club, you're back into like OptiShot type of things. So to me, that's a big deal. Other people, I guess, I don't know, I seemed like I was kind of in the minority on that. People didn't think it was a big deal, but to me it is. And just the fact that I would go try to warm up real quick before doing a video or playing around. I would fire up the range, and then it would take me like 5 or 10 shots. I would look down and say, oh crap, I forgot to change it off a driver. So just for the ease of use of it too. Gotta walk the dog again. This is getting old. That's a hyper dog, Bill. Square wants to fix things. Doesn't seem like Garmin cares. I would agree with that. You gotta figure too, kind of like what I was saying before, if Square introduces a new unit and maybe their priorities start going somewhere else. Garmin is such a big company with so many different units. They have so many different sectors between hiking, their actual GPSs, boat stuff. I mean, you name it. And even the golf, they have the watches, they have the GPSs, they have rangefinders. Now they have 2 launch monitors. They got a lot of different stuff to kind of manage. versus the Square. Right now, that's their sole focus. They're pumping out updates. The big thing too with Square, which may be a little bit harder to notice possibly, but ever since I got one, it seems like at every step they try to do the right thing to improve the experience for the user. So, like, first launching it and having GS Pro be completely free, that was like a massive win for the user. Now, like, the next thing that comes to mind is having the credit system too. That's also better for the user. And now the big thing obviously is them, instead of making you buy their own balls and only their balls that are super expensive, now they're integrating with another ball company. And they just basically took their ball and they fine-tuned their unit to work with it. That's another just massive win, to where they're not making, like, they could have made more money, a lot more money, charging people to use GS Pro. They could have made a lot more money if they just stuck to their only balls. But they're at every step of the turn, or every step along the way, I should say, they're doing things that benefit the customer, which is awesome. I tried to point that out in the video with the TP5s, and I've said that with GS Pro too. Hopefully that remains to be the case, and I feel like people maybe don't maybe necessarily recognize that or appreciate it quite as much, because like Square, I mean, I guess they could always change too, but Square could easily charge 100, 200 bucks a year to be able to use GS Pro, and they'd be making so much more money, but they're deciding not to do that. And the same thing with the balls. Might be the minority here, but I don't mind the subscription just for the reason to keep development going. But I can always buy credits, I guess. I said that too. I get that. I've said that too. Like, they got to make money somehow to keep improving it. People have unrealistic expectations that they buy a launch monitor. Usually, it seems like it's people. I mean, I guess I kind of had that too when I bought the Garmin. I expected it just to work really good right out of the box. But I think some people have unrealistic expectations of what they expect out of a quote unquote budget unit, basically anything under 1,000. I feel like they expect that they're gonna pay $700 for GC quad level accuracy and like updates every like 2 days, and that's just not the case. Like, all those updates take a ton of man hours. Like, I'm not in IT or anything like that, but like that takes a team of like developers to figure out all this stuff and be able to put it out. Like, that stuff isn't cheap. You're paying probably 5, 10 people to work on that, like salaries. That's what I said about. Obviously, I prefer not paying a subscription and using GS Pro for free because I'm already paying for GS Pro. But yeah, like the credits, I don't mind buying more of those if I was using the course. Like, they gotta make money somehow. People made the argument, well, they're selling a product, they should just factor that into their budget in the first place. So they factor in the $700 and they have room for R&D on top of that, which I get. Someone compared it to a TV, to where you buy a TV once and you just want to keep using it and have it work well. You're not paying, but you're not trying to improve your TV or get better. I don't know. I see it both ways. I'm glad they don't have the subscription, but I get what you're saying. I'm not surprised owning an XPod, seeing how accurate and good it is. So I'm curious, Perry. How often? How long have you had the XPod? How long has it been since Square themselves released it? Like, when did that unit get released? How long have you had it? And how often now do they come out with updates for that unit. That could probably kind of forecast the future of what Square has in store in terms of ongoing updates. Same thing that I was saying before. I'm sure they got the exploit to the point where it's really good, so they don't really need to change a whole lot. So I would assume there was a bunch of updates probably when you first got it, and now they're probably fewer and further between, if I had to guess. Which, again, get ready. Once the Square gets even better than it already is, and it's already great, and they start slowing down on the updates, you're going to have people all over Facebook and all the forums complaining that they haven't had an update in 2 months. I can already see it coming, mark my words. I heard when it first came out, I don't know if it's true, but there was like word going around that because Square's a Korean-based company, that subscriptions are very, very unpopular in Korea, which is why they went the way they did. I don't know if that's true or not, if you guys heard that. Either way, whatever the reason was they did it, I'm appreciative that they did do that. And I'm sure like a lot of you, that was a big selling point. That was a consideration when I bought it in the first place. So also thinking, I feel like the odds are pretty good that Tiger's team is going to win this week. Might have to bet on it. How about I watch TGL? It's on ESPN. 7 o'clock tonight. Last week it was on at 9 p.m. Eastern. This week it's on at 7 p.m. Eastern, so 2 hours earlier. ESPN at 7 o'clock, so another 52 minutes it'll be on. If you don't have cable and you don't have ESPN, there's probably ways out there you could probably find it, but personally, I have YouTube TV, so that's how I'm going to be watching it. Someone did mention that as far as TGL. They said that if they really wanted to lean into the whole YouTube thing, they should just be simulcasting it and broadcasting it on YouTube for free. They'd get a ton more viewers, but I don't have ESPN. Is there a thing on YouTube? No, not that I'm aware of. There may be someone like with their phone doing a live stream of the TV. YouTube usually pulls those down pretty quick though. But I've had it for 18 months. I don't know how long it's been out. I had one update, but it works perfect. When I get the Square, I get the connector and use it for putting. Yeah, you'll have to get the Triple Bogey Golf. I guess he's friendly with the guy Springbok that did the connector. It's free to get, but you have to get that one. The current GS Pro connector from Square themselves, there's no option for XPut, but the Springbok one, which is free, it's on GitHub. You can download it now even if you wanted to, but you could check it out. That thing has XPut, so there's probably a way you can get that to work. I feel like the XPut's been around for a couple years. I remember seeing ads for it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was released in the neighborhood. I don't know if they've come out with different versions of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it initially came out in the neighborhood of like 2018 to like 2020. You may have already said this, Perry, but actually, never mind. So accurate 0.1 launch angle and 0.1 ball speed. I'd be curious. I haven't seen one. I haven't seen any videos, like any YouTube videos of someone doing a direct comparison of the Square versus the XPut. I think the Square has a little bit wider variance. It's in the user manual, but it tells you the variance of what it can pick up on. I think it has a little bit wider variance between the ball speed and the launch angle and all that stuff. But I will be very curious to see like an in-depth head-to-head comparison between those two. I also wonder how many XPuts they've sold since they came out with the Square. That webcam putting thing that Triple Bogey Golf has is pretty cool. Personally, I'll probably never do that. I'd be more likely to do the overhead projection. I may do that in the future. That's pretty cool. Have it shine down on the floor with like the hitting zone. I do like that pin spotlight that I have over it, but the overhead projection would be pretty cool if I mount a cheap projector up there. Not really the same market. No, it's not. I agree. It's really not. But when you figure, I think the XPut's like $500. If you can get the Square for $200 extra and be able to hit actual balls and do a lot more with it, if the putting's similar, then I would think if you're going to spend 500, you'd be better off spending 700. That's kind of what I was getting at. I read a 1.5 ball speed. Yeah, when I was testing the Square the other day, I think I got down to 1.4, which is crazy. I mean, that's nothing. That's like I was literally trying as hard as I could to just like tap it. But I guess Jonathan, I guess my point was, by all accounts, the Square is really, really good at putting. So if the accuracy is even, I think it's probably maybe not identical, but it should be really close. If it's accuracy putting wise is really, really close between the Square and the XPut, then you would think people would opt for the Square and get a lot more use out of it and capabilities. Got another projector for floor. I have one too. If you look at when I first set up before I got my new projector, I have one too. It's like a 15-year-old Epson projector. I could use that. I really like the projector I got though. It was like 110 bucks or something. It's pretty awesome. It's not 4K or any of that stuff. It's not a short throw, but for the price I paid, it's really bright. Pretty good projector. We'll see how long it lasts being out there in 20-degree weather and in the heat in the summer. But even if I had to buy, if they keep that same projector, even if I had to buy one every couple years because it crapped out on me, putting off the hitting mat is not great. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I wish I could have something like this. That would be nice if maybe Square could make a little bit bigger of a hitting area. Problem is the unit's so small, it can only read so much. But I wish I had something like this to where I could putt on, and then that Country Club Elite hitting strip that I have, it is pretty grabby, and the turf is really thick, so it's definitely not ideal putting on it. It's kind of lumpy and bumpy and I could do one of those. A few people have done it. The sliding drawer kind of tracks and have the unit slide into a different area. Maybe I could do that for putting. That's reason alone for me to add XPut. From all the videos I've done, I should have Square send me an XPut. No, I didn't see that, Jonathan. Comparison R50 and GC3. Were they close? What are the cliff notes? Joe does such a good job. He's so robotic. I mean, he was a former professional golfer, so it makes sense. But he's my go-to person if I want to see any kind of comparison stuff or like in-depth reviews. Definitely watched all of his Square stuff, all of his Garmin R10 stuff, MLM2 stuff when I was looking into that. What I found kind of odd, speaking of Joe, the fact that Triple Bogey Golf can do these tests with seemingly pretty little interference. Maybe it's different now with the updates from Square, but when Joe was trying to test it, he couldn't do any kind of direct comparison. Maybe he'll do another one with the Square in the future with one of these different units. Can I put them next to each other because the interference of the GC3? I was surprised the Square held up so good on Triple Bogey. So he did the same thing then with his test. He did the same thing that he did with Square, to where he hit like a group of 10 shots and then compared the averages. I don't like those as much. I get there's nothing he can do if it doesn't work, but I like seeing the same exact ball with the two units registering and measuring the same exact shot. Realistically, too, like obviously you like the comparisons are interesting, and you like seeing like a unit that you have perform really well against another unit. But for us, like people that aren't professionals or even close to it, you get into the kind of over analyzing type of situation to where the average user is not going to notice, even if Square never fixes the ball speed. The average user is never gonna notice 2 miles an hour slower. And like obviously you can tell if you really slice one off the planet and it shows that it was a draw, that's an issue. But like if something draws 15 yards as opposed to 20 yards, I don't know, the average user is really not going to be able to tell. So too small a difference to draw any conclusions. So they were both really close then. Makes sense. I mean, you're talking about what, like a $3,500 unit versus a $5,000 unit. Makes me wonder how people like Foresight and TrackMan are going to continuously sell units. I get at a certain point, owning a TrackMan or like a GC quad is probably kind of like a status symbol. It's similar to like having like a Mercedes, just for the sake of having a Mercedes when a Toyota could do the same thing. So I get that kind of aspect of it, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to start selling a lot less units at $20,000 to $30,000 when something um, in the $3,000 to $5,000 range can basically do the same exact thing. To me, it looked very close. That's kind of what I was talking about though before with the if you can kind of zoom out of where we've gone over the past couple of years with the whole simulator market. Like, if I had to guess, you could get a TrackMan, you could get a GC quad, you could get a Unicore, you could get any of the overhead units, like you get a Pro TV X or whatever. You could get a GC3, you could get the R50. You could put, I know there'd be interference, but say in theory, you could have all of those units running at the same exact time and measure the shot. They're all going to be really close. So like it just comes down to very minimal. One, it'll be price. Two, it'll be like very minimal features that they have, and then three, it'll be like subscription prices and like that kind of stuff going forward for people to make a decision with one unit or the other. But like for something like that, like the R50 versus the GC3, like why would someone pick one over the other? All right, 7 minutes or so, and I'm out of here. Does anyone have? Um, might as well ask. Does anyone have any specific questions or things they'd like to see me test with the Square? I have a couple ideas of things that I'm going to do. But if you have any particular questions, like one person like a couple weeks ago wanted to know about the permanent T, if you could use a permanent T with the Square, which is kind of like rare, and most people don't do that. But if you have anything in particular you'd like to see me test, I'm happy to do like a separate video, even if it's kind of particular. And putting, or the putting, yeah, I guess that's true. But that's just an issue. Like Garmin will eventually fix that. It's like Hawk, they have 10 at the bar. It's all corporate and image what you pay for in order to 100 multiple locations. Yeah, I guess. Can you repeat everything I said? Yeah, no problem. Here's the best way that I can repeat it. What you can do is you can go back to the very beginning and then watch it one time through. Like to see someone take it to the actual range and see the actual ball flight with the Square you're saying? I'm not opposed to that. I'd have to figure out first. I would have to take it into the backyard and figure out the shade situation, and then maybe if I could get that to work, maybe I could take it to the range. But unfortunately, like around here, like I'm not going to the range when it's 20 degrees out. So that would have to be either someone else that lives in like Florida or like California, or if I do that, it'll have to be like in a couple months in the springtime. Kind of hard though. Thank you, no problem, Mitch Kramer. A lot of work. It would be a cool video. I'm sure people would be interested in that. Um, I was thinking about ordering some different Callaway balls, but at a certain point, like I like those TP5s. The Callaways are the same price. Um, I don't know if that would be much of a test. I think the Square though, it's pretty. Range sucks with range balls. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I mean, granted, the only way you would be able to do it is if like you hit it, if like you're hitting at a flag that's exactly 150 and see where it lands. You see some of those tests where they are in an open field and someone puts a flag down and someone shoots it with a rangefinder. They could do something like that. Range balls though, at least it would be range balls suck, but the scorer doesn't know what ball you're hitting, so it would still be able to pick up. Like you get less ball speed out of a range ball and whatnot. The square would still pick up on it. So really, the only thing would be ball flight and then how far it goes. If you could see exactly where it landed, kind of thing. I was gonna say though, I think the square is getting to the point where it's really really good. So I may start playing through all the different courses on the Square app. I haven't done any videos playing those courses yet. Could you still mark up some balls on the range? That's a good question too. You probably have to bring. You probably have to uh, go into your golf bag, or like for me, I have like a couple buckets of balls that are all beat up that I found over the years. What I would have to do is just bring those to the range and put Sharpie on them, and then just hit them into the range and never get them back. I think that's probably the only way you could do it. I don't think the range would appreciate it too much if you put Sharpie dots or vinyl stickers all over their balls. Ended up wasting $30 worth of vinyl, and I put some black marks on my screen. But even something like that, I'm kind of glad that I did it, and I got the video out of it to let other people know about the ball dots. But the the extra tape I actually have. Well, actually, no, this is the original Square one, but that extra tape that I got on Amazon, like tests like that worked really good. I got a roll of like, I don't know what it is, 20, 30 feet of that reflective tape for like $10 on Amazon. That stuff works awesome. I like to see the Square courses. Yeah, your own with permission. Yeah, I'll do the Square courses. I gotta find some time to get out there and play a full 18 on those and do a video for each course. Cool thing is they got rid of the that was one of the things with this update yesterday. They got rid of having to, when you're playing the actual Square courses, when you put the ball down, it basically pans down into the area until you put the ball down, and then it would like zoom back up to the shot you were hitting. I guess they fixed that. As far as the range balls bringing your own, I don't think they would mind that. I would just put Sharpie. I would just draw Sharpie dots all over them. I can't imagine they would be upset about me donating like 10 or 20 balls to the range. They'd probably get them back though and say, "What the heck are all these balls with dots all over them?" One thing too that I'm glad that I did the test on, the black marks on my screen kind of suck, and the fact that I spent $30. But I was able to test those vinyl dots and able to confirm that you can just put the dots randomly all over the balls and it'll work with the Square. You don't have to follow that dot pattern. That are like, you don't have to like replicate the triangle shape, or not the triangle shape, like that star shape on the actual Square balls. Anyone want to do a gentleman's bet on TGL tonight? I will bet anyone $1. I'll send it to you on Venmo. I made a Hosel Rocket Golf Venmo account. I will bet anyone that wants to take it, I will bet you $1 that Tigers team wins. Not uniform or anything? Nope. So I put, if you look at the dot video I did, when did I put that out? That was yesterday, right? The dot video was yesterday. I just put the dots randomly all over the ball, and it worked with the square. I only hit one shot just because I didn't want to put more marks on my screen. Um, but I tested it probably. I hit like 5 or 10 shots maybe off camera when I first got the dots, and it picked up every single time just doing a random pattern on the ball. So, um, meaning if you go the dot pattern, like if you hit into a net or you don't care about your screen, you can just put either those vinyl dots all over your ball randomly, or you could draw Sharpie circles all over your ball randomly, and it'll work with the square. At least it did for me. Boogeyman Bill's back. I'm about to head out of here soon, Bill. Oh, it's 6:32. All right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta shower, make some food before TGL. And here one buys expensive 3D print plastics. Kind of figured dog's gonna wear me out, drive me crazy. Yeah, I was wondering. Some people that they've suggested buying those, they're like $25 to buy the template for the dots. I was gonna do that if it had to be a certain pattern. I was gonna use those dots permanently. I was gonna get one of those, but yeah, I just figured it would work without it, and it did. So if you wanted to do that, again, if you don't have a projector and you're just hitting into a net, that would work good because you can use whatever ball you want and just put those dots all over it. And it's so super cheap. I did the math. It was like I bought the first one, the Cry Cut or Cricut vinyl. It was a 30-foot roll, and I did the math on it. I could make like 28,000 uh, dots out of that one roll, which equates over to, I think the square balls have 30 dots per ball. So it was like 2,800 golf balls you could mark up with that one roll. So if you do that, just literally buy like a 6 foot. Usually 6 foot is some of the lower ones, but get like the smallest roll of vinyl you can get. Got the shop warming up. Gonna try and get a couple rounds in for the night. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have fun, Bill. Um, Shout out to the members. Shout out Perry Smith, Jonathan, Antennas was in here before. No Black Cloud. No Black Cloud tonight. He's usually in here. But I'll catch you guys on the next one.